Hey everybody, it's Josh. Wanted to do another video today. I'll probably post it maybe tomorrow because, as I said, I have a lot of kids' school stuff going on. But I wanted to talk about churches. Should we join a church? Should I join a church? I used to actually enjoy going to church for a while when I was a kid. You know, it just became like a kind of, mainly on, the holidays. It really made me feel comfortable. Excuse me, the allergies kicking in again. But I always felt comfortable with the surroundings, the people surrounding me, the hymns, which are now awful rock music, Christian rock music. Oof, bad. Sorry if you like it, but I don't. And when I got to be an adult, really the last time I was in a church until we enrolled my kids in a church preschool was when I got married, which was 2005. And I didn't see a need for it in my adult life. I guess because I hadn't struggled enough, or I guess because I think the main reason was I never got a connection through church. I never got a connection to God at all through church. Every now and then, when I was younger, a sermon would kind of speak to me a little bit. And I do like listening to, even before I was saved, I liked listening to religious talk or, ideas on religion. And I really just wanted to go and check out a bunch of different faiths. And I still like doing that. Even though I'm a Christian, I still think it's pretty cool to go check out other faiths. But I just cannot, excuse me again. I cannot bring myself to understand why I need a church, except for my wife and my children. But today, I saw a sermon that really spoke to me. It was really powerful. Apparently, within the month, 3 of the, sorry, I broke a stick here. The pastor that went there, which he hasn't been there for a long time, so he's the one I really like going to see speak. But he had 3 of his really close friends and members of the congregation pass away. One was 41 up to 74. And I could see how that affected him. I could see the tears welling up in his eyes. I could feel them welling up in mine. It's the first time I really remember that happening during a sermon. I guess it's probably happened before, but it was probably the most powerful sermon I've heard. And that's because he was talking about how all of you come here and you think you come and you go through these motions and you get baptized and you think that's all it takes. But you never know God. And I know I spoke about this in my last video. He said, how many of you, when you get up to heaven or standing before the Lord, the Lord will look and say, I don't know you. You never took the time for me. Yeah, you went to church. Yeah, you talked the talk, but you didn't walk the walk. You didn't let me be Lord of your life. But you sure used my reputation to kind of virtue signal to others. I also spoke in the last video about hypocrites and how, I believe it was Frank Turek who made the joke about somebody asked him about Christian hypocrites. Like, don't you think that, most Christians are hypocrites? And he's like, yeah, and we got room for one more waiting for you here. Come on down. I thought that was just the best response. Just the best response. Bravo, Frank Turek. If that is your name. I hope I got his name right. But the whole idea of the church, I think, is to raise our children in the faith. I see all these differences in Christian churches, and I want to say that today I was talking to some people at the church, and it almost ruined it. I was like, I want to be a member of this church after the sermon, and then talking to some of the people, and not because they're bad people, because I know that they know the scripture. They know it back and forth. They have it almost memorized, which is amazing. But I just didn't get this. I didn't get the feeling they knew God. But then again, why should anyone dissuade me from what is... There's going to be good and bad people everywhere. There's going to be people in every church who go through the motions, pretend like they're holier than thou, but they're so clearly not. They just want to use that devoutness as a club to bludgeon you with. And it really is sad. It really is. But those people, okay, many of them will never understand. Because I really do think that even though they're like that, deep down they want to really know God. And maybe the reason they're acting the way they are, I think I swallowed a bug, actually. Stuck right in my throat. Maybe the reason they are the way they are, I have to look at the reason I was the way I was, because I was scared. I was lost, and I envied. I was so jealous of the people who God gave miracles to, but yet he wouldn't give them to me like that when I needed them. For 13 years, I needed them so badly. I watched a woman, and I was touched by this for sure. I watched a woman who the doctors demanded they pull the plug. She was in a coma. She was basically dead. They said she'd probably be brain dead anyway, even if they could bring her back. her mom just fought for her and fought for her, and finally her husband, who she was estranged from, had to say still, because they were still technically married, he said, we're going to do it tonight, or we're going to do it in the morning, first thing in the morning. So all the family got there to watch her die and be with her as she passed. They got there to something different. She was sitting there wide awake. Hello, everyone. Almost like nothing had ever happened. I also hear the story of, you may know of Jordan Peterson. I heard his daughter speaking about how her parents never believed at all. You know, she grew up not believing either. It just wasn't a thing. They were a family of science and reason. Her mother got a rare cancer. She said only 18 people had ever been diagnosed with, and all 18 had died. And I apologize if I'm getting any of this wrong, but the basic gist is they went around to country trying to get treatments. Nothing seemed to be working. Her mom looked at her and said, this next one's going to work. This next one, I'm going to be, or no, she said, I'm going to be cured. And she was like, okay, the drugs must be really kicking in, Mom. What makes you think that? And she's like, well, God told me. And so, you know, she didn't say much, because what are you going to say to somebody who's dying, who you obviously think is going to die? Okay, crazy, you know? But then she went to the doctor and is completely gone. Cancer has just completely disappeared. The doctors don't know what the hell happened. Nobody knows what happened. Hearing that story, stories like these, they make me teary-eyed. They really do. But this got Jordan Peterson's daughter, Michaela, thinking, like, I really want to believe like that. And she said it, and I totally agree. You have to want to believe. If you want to not believe, nothing's going to happen for you. Until you see something you can't explain, some miracle of nature, and you're like, wow, well, they're saying it's because of their faith. But so Michaela kept reading the Bible. She said she got nothing out of it for, I think, years. And all of a sudden, it just clicked for her. The whole thing just clicked for her. She finally started seeking, and she found God. She finally wanted to seek Him. You'll have to excuse me, these bugs. Going in every part of my body. I really do think it's up to you. Because I know many who have told me they want to find God. They just never had that, any kind of experience close to that. Well, until you seek, you will never find. I'm trying to see what this animal is up here. I don't know if it's a big cat or a fox or something. I'm going to stand here though. See if it'll show itself to me. But I do think that going to a church, if you can find the right one, is very important. It's very important, and you should, if you can find the right one, you should absolutely keep going to it. But don't count on that church to connect with God. That is something you're going to have to do in your own personal life. Now you can, if you're having trouble connecting with God, then go to church and ask around. You don't even have to go to church really, you just ask around. And people will be glad to tell you. Some people will be lying to you for sure. But not many people lie about that. You really need to try what you can, personally. I always tell people to try to talk to God and have God show them what spiritual path to take. As I said, for me it was obviously Christianity. For you it could be anything. But there is a direction, a path you are supposed to be taking, and God will show you. So whether or not I'm going to join this church, I don't know. Probably will, so I can, mainly for my wife. I think it does me good too, but my wife needs it more than I do, I think. And there are people there who I know are very truthful about their divine encounters. But I just think that for me, I want to worship and to spread God's light with the example of Christ. He went around to these, they were really just trash towns, really probably just, like middle of nowhere, not trash towns, but middle of the nowhere, nothing towns, And he just taught to the poor, to the weak, the oppressed. But he did it from a grassroots thing. He did it from a grassroots. And I think that's how I want to do it. Which is why I love talking to you all. And you all will be my church. Not only my congregation, but also my pastor at times. Because I rely on you all just as much, if not more, as you rely on me sometimes. You keep me going, and I hope I can keep you going. It's the purest way to do it, I think. It's the example that God gave us, that Christ gave us. So why wouldn't we follow that example? Why go to some church where we know we're going to encounter quite a few people who just who know all kinds of stuff about the Bible. They have a bunch of knowledge on the Bible. They seem to have zero wisdom on the Bible. And those people, they don't want to hear anything but themselves talk. They want to impress you with how knowledgeable they are of the Bible. Believe me, you're never going to see me trying to impress you with my brain power. I can't remember. I could probably name you quite a few verses, or you get pretty close. I couldn't tell you what they were. I can tell you the wisdom behind many verses and many stories in the Bible. That's just how my brain works, though. I don't remember things. I'm horrible with remembering names. I'm horrible with dates, or my head's always in the clouds, because that's where God is. And that's where I like to be. But God also keeps me grounded. You need someone to keep you grounded, especially if you're someone prone to mental illness or delusion. I am prone to all those things for sure. I'm sure I've got plenty of them that I just haven't been. There's no need to go get them checked out, because unless I wanted to get drugs when I was earlier, which I probably could have tried easily. I'm surprised I didn't, honestly. But for me, I may have like ADHD or a slight, case of bipolar. I've had that deep depression, and I've had those just overwhelming highs. And I've had that laser focus on something, and I've been able to never focus on anything. But I've seen people who struggle from very, very serious cases of these things. I would never it'd be like me seeing something awful happen and saying I have PTSD or something. And there's people in war who have very serious PTSD. I'm not saying that people can't get PTSD if they're not in war. I'm saying that something that wouldn't warrant me to say I have PTSD. It'd just be like another virtue signal, just like those people at church that I always talk about. But I just think that even if I do join this church, I don't know. It's looking that way after today. Seems pretty clear that's where God's leading me. But this is going to be my number one commitment to my church. You all are my number one church. I can go there on Sundays and listen to the sermons and do a couple church things here and there. And it's always just about God to me, just about Christ. And you all are such a divine inspiration for me. God sent me to you and you to me for a very, very important reason. I don't want to ever take away from that. If I have to for my family, okay. But other than that, my family or my close friends, you all come first when it comes to spreading God's word and giving you my attention to help you understand God. Because God will always be at the top of importance for me, no matter what. God is, He's shown me His amazing divinity. He's shown me how absolutely incredible He can be. And I've only seen such a tiny little fraction. It'd be like an atom in our body, or a grain of sand on the beaches of eternity. And I'm that amazed by that one little grain. Just imagine how much more He has in store for me, for you, for all of us. We don't know, but we can sure as hell enjoy the ride. I hope you will. I hope you'll stop with the suffering. I hope you'll join me in, yeah, we're going to have that pain, but understanding that we don't have to suffer. You have to suffer to get there, for sure. But you put your time in, you unlock that door. I call it the divine wellspring, where we connect with God. Once you have bathed in that divine wellspring, God's showing you how you don't have to suffer ever again. But old habits die hard. It's always up to you whether to accept God or not accept Him, to suffer or not to suffer. It's all up to you. I hope you'll choose to join me in basking in the comfort of this divinity. God bless everyone. We'll talk to you soon.